July 12th, 2009. VGN Radio presents Midwest Wasteland with your hosts, Kevin Baird,
Don Anderson,
and Larry Mack.
Tonight's topic, cars, or automobiles.
Had to be done.
All right, so
Absolutely none of our listeners know that song.
let me go over all the technical crap before you guys fall asleep, and then we'll get into it. Brian said he'll be about an hour late. That was about 20 minutes ago, so hopefully he'll join us soon, because we started the show later than usual, because I was fucking around. Don Cease said that if he does show up, it'll be later. So I don't know what he's doing, or what. Everything's a mystery with that guy. It's kind of like Larry in that respect, except Larry usually gives better notice as to why he's leaving. But Larry's back. Yay! He's been gone for 2 weeks, unless you'd listen to the sports show, which apparently not many of you do. So welcome back, Larry.
All right.
I thought we were getting a bunch of listeners. They just never showed up in the forums. You said
We have about 100. We have about 100, dude. 100.
There you go.
So it's not great.
Here's to the first 100.
Somebody's listening to us. Okay, couple of technical notes. We've changed the RSS feeds of the shows, all of them. This is to reduce the expenses that are being paid on the radio shows in general. And some of you may notice that some things have kind of changed, and this is to kind of explain how this works. I'm using the Libsyn system, and it's a little bit wonky. But the way it works is that if you want to get all of our radio shows, which is this one here, Midwest Wasteland, Video Game News Radio, and Cleveland Sports Radio, then all you have to do is subscribe to VGN.Libsyn, that's LIBSYN.com/RSS.
Libsyn.
That'll give you access to all our shows. But if you don't really want to listen to all the shows because you only like one or two and you don't like the sports show or whatever, then you would only want to subscribe. You can specify after that RSS, you can put another / and for VGN, it's VGNR. For Cleveland Sports Radio, it's CSR. And for Midwest Wasteland, it is Midwest. So you just put, like, for instance, VGN.Libsyn.com /RSS /Midwest. Make sure they're all lowercase, and that will get you only the Midwest Wasteland show. So you can do that for any of the three shows, and subscribe that way. I had to change a couple of things, though, with the RSS, because there's only one actual RSS document, so the image and stuff is just kind of be standardized, and the description and stuff, it's kind of, like I said, wonky. I don't know. Maybe I'll change it 6 months from now, but for the moment, since I don't want to, like, really confuse everyone, kind of just going to keep it the same so everybody can subscribe and get the show. We did pretty good. I did a redirect yesterday. The people from iTunes, for the last VGN, and the people from iTunes tend to be our most subscribers, and about 1,500 people picked up the new feed. So somehow we have 1,500 people listening to the show just from iTunes. Everybody else that listens through any other traditional means would still be able to get the show on the old RSS feed. I'm keeping it updated for an indefinite period of time. But if you have something like, iPodder or any other like RSS aggregator, you will probably want to resubscribe to one of the new feeds, because eventually the old feed will go away. Just so you know.
Go away.
I am going to get rid of Live365.com soon. Basically, it's $500 a year to renew, and it's not really worth it. The number of people that listen on the Live365 streaming just doesn't justify the expense of broadcasting the show live on the feed anymore. So that's going to go away. You'll still be able to listen live to the show by using our Shoutcast stream. You can go to videogamenews.com and go into the forums and post in the general forum if you need technical help in order to set that up, since a lot of people there already do it and know how to use it. It's a lower quality stream than the Live 365, but it doesn't have any commercials or any of the weird stuff that Live 365 does. You can listen to it on your iPhone and stuff. That's actually sc.vgn.us. If you actually open your browser and type in sc.vgn.us, it will redirect and tell you that it's going to open up a PLS file. If you say yes to that, usually iTunes, Windows Media Player, or Winamp or something like that will play the PLS, and you'll be able to listen to the show live, like you're doing right now. Or you can just open it. Most people are technically savvy enough to figure it out on their own. You can just open it sc.vgn.us, and it'll play. So sorry for all the technical notes, but I just wanted to make sure everybody gets the show as we make these important transitions, because otherwise you won't, and then you'll be wondering where the hell the show went. So
Gotta make it so difficult.
it's actually, I try to provide the most, with the Libsyn, if you go to vgn.libsyn.com, there's a player right there so you can listen to it in your browser, and you can also download the shows directly right there as well. So, if you can't figure out all this RSS crap and the streaming crap, you can always just go right to vgn.libsyn.com and get the show. So,
Right on.
all right. So,
Sounds like a plan.
That's the technical notes. I don't really, one last important thing is next week's discussion. In case anyone is curious, in 2 weeks, Midwest Wastelands. Because next week is Video Game News Radio, and we're talking about evil in video games. I don't know I don't know how well that's going to go over. But in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about drinking. Drinking as an alcohol. Primarily, as well as, Anderson, that whole thing where, where you didn't drink for a while, and you would go to the bar, and people kind of look at you like, oh,
Everybody want to beat me up.
You're one of them. One of those. What do you do,
He must be one of them homos.
He's straight edge or something. So, we're going to be talking about...
my eyes were always red and half shut, though.
Well, everybody knew your story, right? So, right. That's in 2 weeks. Should be
when I didn't drink for a while, every time I went somewhere, someone always had some reason to offer me free beer, and I was like, this sucks.
And you look at him, you're like, of course.
Yeah, that's when I always got offered the freebies. I was like, you bastard, where were you a month ago?
Because they just feel, they just look at you and they see like a wounded animal.
Yeah, I just look extra sad.
I'll tell you a quick story real quick here. I know this chick who was a bartender at Applebee's, and I went up there and I procured her something that she needed. I got something for her that she needed.
McDonald's.
She was like so happy, She's like, I'm going to make you a drink. I was like, you know what? I was all high and stuff. I was like, I just want a chocolate milkshake with like a ton of whipped cream on it. That would be the greatest thing in the world, right? She's like, okay. She's like, I'm going to put vodka in it. And I'm like, no. I'm like, don't put any of it. No vodka. No, I just want a chocolate milkshake. And she's like, no, don't worry about it. It's cool. It's on me. And I'm like, no. And I'm like screaming no at her.
Getting all pissed.
Yeah, because it's a chocolate milkshake. And Applebee's makes good chocolate milkshakes. And I was screaming, and I watched. I'm like, no! And she's pouring the vodka in there, and she poured it all out, and she puts it up there. She goes, there you go, all the whipped cream on top. I was like, I don't want that. She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I can't. No, I'm not, because that's when I was in my non-drinking stage. So I was like, I'm not drinking. I don't drink. No. I was like, all I wanted was a chocolate milkshake. She got all mad and stuff. I'm like, why are you mad? I told you not to do it. Sorry. That's the little story I thought of.
See, that would have been good for that would have been great for 2 weeks.
It's a preview for 2 weeks from now.
So I got a lot of people saying that they really like Midwest Wasteland more than they like Video Game News Radio, as well as Cleveland Sports Radio, and this is their new favorite show and all that kind of stuff. Thanks. I'm glad that you like our tales of misery and woe. But
you think your life's bad? Just listen to us for a fucking week.
We'll see how it progresses. Midwest Wasteland, it is a new show. The topics at hand are interesting, but eventually, like the other shows, we'll start to look at each other and be like, so what do you want to talk about? I don't know. I don't got anything.
You guys want to jump the shark.
I don't really have anything. So we'll see. It may be eventually this show we may stop doing it on a topic basis like we've been doing it, and we may start discussing more current events, because there's only I know people love our history stories and stuff, but there's only so much to say, and eventually we're just kind of repeating, unless we start killing off hosts of the show and replacing them with other people. And there's not enough people I know in my life that could possibly get a Sunday to come on. It's more difficult than you think. So anyway.
Yeah, but really, if you think about it, we've been rehashing a lot of the same stories for the past 3 years, and everyone still seems to enjoy it.
Every time I go to say something, I'm like, I don't know if I've said this before.
Maybe.
Because I don't know.
And I mean, come on, how many times have we told the dead dog story on this show? Like 47?
No, I told the story. I told the story once. No, was it twice?
No.
I think I had to tell it twice.
And Kevin's told it a few times.
But it keeps getting brought up. It's called a callback. That's what we in the comments is called a callback.
Well, the people seem to really enjoy Brian's monkey story the best.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to chime in to me that they absolutely love the story of him in the Navy fighting the monkeys.
Right.
That's cool. Brian and his Navy stories is one of those things that they're really funny when he tells them, but it's hard to have him tell them because nobody really knows what he did. So it's hard to be like, Brian, remember that time you were, because who knows? I wasn't there. I can't be like, remember when you fought that guy? He's got to either offer it up or, we're kind of on our own. So, I don't know, but I do know a couple of stories where he got into fights in the Navy, so maybe I'll try to get those out of him eventually.
And half the time you can't understand him, he starts talking all crazy.
Yeah, but that's fun. Everybody likes that.
Yeah, when he gets on his rant and starts tripping over his tongue and stuff.
Sorry, and then I was driving the car and I was just like, there's demons. And you're just like, what are you doing, dude? Are you for real? What?
Oh, come on. You're following him. You know what he's talking about. He's like...
you were crossing the street and then all of a sudden the ground opened up and swallowed. What?
It's awesome. All right.
It's funny. I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying it's just funny because you never know what the hell he's talking about. And then you're just like, what? And he goes like, fuck you. You're just like, what, dude? I didn't hear all that. He's like, I'm not doing it again.
Whatever. Gotta be a smart ass.
Anderson's mostly talking about when you hang out with Brian at parties. The same thing kind of goes on. He sort of sits there and just starts going into a big story like that. And you're just kind of like half in the bag yourself, and you're just looking at him, and you're like, it's like,
talking about dragons.
The Army flies in and stuff, and they airdrop in avocado dip and just like, what are you talking about? I'm not sure where this went,
It's like Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. Great film.
Yeah, guys, it's awesome.
Okay. So anyways, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting.
Hey, it's all good. Brian's not on the show, so we have to bag on him a little bit. See, nobody rags on Cease because we're kind of afraid of him. And,
he's tall. He's got big hands.
Yeah, he's just crushes, turning our bones into dust. But I don't know. Yeah, there was something to say. No, I mean, just he doesn't offer up what the hell he's doing either, which is kind of a problem. You can't really, if he was saying, "Well, I'm at my kid's recital," or somebody like bullshit, But he's just smart. He's just smart enough to be like, real short about it. I'm not gonna be there. It's like, all right,
yeah.
Fuck.
Brian immediately launches into the explanation.
Which that's
like, I won't be there.
Right, that's how you know it's a lie.
Why, what's going on? I just won't. See ya. Bye.
Because, when Brian starts up with that whole, the kids have the whooping cough, and we had to put them in the Krypton freezing chamber.
When you answer the phone, it never starts off with, I'm going to be late, or I'm not going to be there. It's going to be like, okay, listen, here's the deal.
Yeah, and see,
that's how it always begins.
I used to call Brian to find out, to try to get him on the show and everything. But I called him the one time, and he was all doing that. My back hurts, and I just, it was just so fake and ridiculous. Because what does it matter if your back hurts anyway? You're on the phone.
Fuck him.
You've got to sit though.
No, he doesn't.
I did the show laying at the top of the steps, vomiting and shitting the whole time. Remember that one time when I was really sick? I was like, I don't know. You're like, what's up? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm here, man. I was trying to talk about video games and stuff. I was like, I just played James Bond. Hold on. I didn't care.
Listen, man, you fell asleep during Cleveland Sports Radio.
Dude.
That was awesome.
That was great.
And I can't hear it. How do I hear that one? Is that even up?
Yeah.
Where do I got to go to listen to that?
Well, how do you get the
Reading
shows?
about that.
How do you get the shows right now?
I don't do anything. I just click on the live
All right,
365 and it plays the
all
shows.
right, no, that doesn't. You can't do that. You got to have an RSS for the sports show specifically. I mean, now that I've moved everything to Libsyn, all the news shows you'll be able to just go to Libsyn and get them. But
Right.
the sports show, it doesn't have all the automated play in the browser, none of that crap. So you have to you actually have to. You can physically download it, but Colop basically gave up on adding the shows to Cleveland Sports Radio. I don't know why exactly. He just kind of decided not to add them anymore, and I haven't done it either.
Right.
Because nobody cares about the sports show anyway, so what the hell? It's not like we get any positive mail about it. Maybe Larry does. It is Larry's show, so I don't know.
I do have mail this week.
And so anyway, so that show's never been
Actually, I
posted.
think Akuma gets the most mail out of all of us for the sports show because I have 4 emails and 3 of them are for Akuma.
Well, Akuma's on this week, so that ought to be interesting. Yeah, and so anyway, dude, the answer to your question, I don't know what date that is. The file's there. I could tell you how to get it, but I just don't know what date that show was. I mean, how many?
I just want to hear me fall asleep.
Yeah, it was funny. All right,
That's a great moment in broadcasting right there.
okay. So since no one's showing up, let's talk about car. So
Let's talk about cars.
I'll start it up here a little bit. We're going to first talk about your parents' automobiles, and I don't quite remember exactly. My mom had a car, and I was too young to really remember when she came over here. From Canada. She had a car, and it caught on fire and burned our garage down. And this was when we were living in Michigan. I'm not sure.
Sweet.
I wish Brian was here. When Brian shows up, I'll have him clarify this a little bit, because I'm not exactly sure what happened. And she ended up getting an AMC Gremlin. And for all you guys who don't know what the hell an AMC is, it was a car company that existed.
That gave us such great vehicles as the Gremlin and that ugly ass Eagle.
Yeah, the Eagle, the Hornet. They were a major car company in the terms of they were the same as say Chrysler, GM, or anything. And they were bought by Chrysler in the 70s and late 70s, early or very, very early 80s. There were no more AMC cars made. I think the Eagle was the last one. And you could still see them occasionally on the road. You can tell because they have this weird 4-wheel 4x4 look or something. Usually got paneling. Not
a low-riding sedan with monster truck tires.
Right, yeah. They're weird like that. Not an attractive automobile. Some of them were interesting. Anyway, Chrysler bought them and immediately put them to death. So,
Yeah, for Chrysler.
Gremlin was kind of like an early hatchback car.
Mole used to have one.
Yeah, the Gremlin wasn't the worst. I mean, there were bad AMC cars, but the Gremlin was fairly popular because I think it was inexpensive. People like that hatchback. When she got divorced, she drove that to California and stuff. I don't have any too many memories about that, but that's what she had. She eventually then purchased a Celica. She drove that Celica forever, so whatever. When you live in California, I guess you can have a car and just drive it forever because there's no salt on the road. There's no freaking snow. Whatever. Unless you get into a car accident or the car catches on fire or something. My dad had a Maverick that he had when he came over from Canada. And then, all right, who's typing? I hear you.
Sorry.
Too loud, man.
Too okay.
And
I was even specifically doing it really slowly and softly.
Penalty. Typing too loud.
and then he had a Nova. And Anderson remembers the Nova.
The Cancer Mobile. Wasn't that the Cancer Mobile,
Yeah.
the gray one, or was that the white one?
It was gray, right. Well, yeah. By the time Brian had it. My brother,
Yes, I remember that one.
My brother comes out of the Navy. And, this is really a story, but he'll screw this part up. My brother comes out of the Navy, and he doesn't have a car. And my dad has this Nova, and it's really old. It's beat up. It's just like, it just had it. And my dad had no money. He couldn't afford a new car. Couldn't afford a used car. He didn't have any assets. He had no way of buying a car. Forget about it. So Brian had these friends, the Bakers, and they gave him a car. They gave him a Citation, it was called, which is like a 4-door hatchback. Not a very good car. It had some kind of problem with, I think, the transmission or something in it. But it was newer than my dad's car. So my dad told my brother, he was like, look, why don't you give me the Citation, and I'll give you the Nova. And I don't know, there might have been some sort of ridiculous monetary consideration in there, like, and $20, and Brian was like, cool, beer money. I have no idea, it was something weak like that. So my brother ended up getting the Nova, and immediately I think he got a can of spray paint and put like an anarchy symbol on the doors. And he had bumper stickers on there covering the rust spots. And that was the one where he, like, if everybody remembers his ex-girlfriend story where he punched his mirrors off and stuff, that was the Nova. And Anderson, that's when he got introduced to Brian. We discussed this story once before where he pulled up in that car and everything from school and was like, come on, get in and stuff. And Anderson was in the back seat. We
Fucking fine.
We drove him around, and then we got those 2 liters of wine coolers. Remember when wine coolers came in 2 liters?
Yep.
And
sat in Metro Parks and got drunk.
Right. Yeah, we get.
And then you guys were like, I got to go home, and I had to go home.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing. Everybody was still too young in 9th grade. Everybody had curfews and shit. It was kind of funny. So anyway, that was my dad. Eventually, he didn't drive that Citation very long. He eventually got a what the hell was that thing? Like a Cougar from his friend, and that went to Don C. Went to me, then it went to Don C's. I would love to have Don C's here and talk about all his cars because I think he's had 15 of them, and they've all been pieces of shit. And then he got like a Park Avenue, and then he had a Buick, and blah blah blah. So I don't really have too many interesting stories as far as what happened. My dad was actually a fairly good driver, except that he drove 2-footed, and he often rode the brake. So it made it like one of those things. Because old cars, like the Nova and stuff, if anybody remembers old cars, like the front seat was basically just a bench. And you just, you could squeeze as many people on there as you wanted to, but you could lay down on there. It didn't matter. And, if you hit the brake, you just roll into, like, the wheel well area down below or whatever. You just, like, as a kid and stuff. And you're like, oh, you'd climb back out of it. Cars just weren't the safety things they were today.
If the driver was short, you better not be tall and sit in the front seat.
He had the old radio with the black push buttons on it. Remember those? And you turn them on, and then you're like...
It doesn't go to a station. It just goes to an area.
Well, see, that's right. That's what my dad...
It just moves over a half inch.
My dad thought the same thing, right? And I always thought, I was like saying to myself, I said, it cannot be right because it never made any sense, right? You figure if you push the left button, it would go to the left. But it would always go like somewhere to the right or kind of in the middle or just move over an inch and stuff. And then like one day I figured out that if you pull out the black and then push it back in, it set the station. And I was like, oh, my God. And my dad never knew that. So he drove the car for like 10 years and never realized that those black buttons that you push in could actually be programmed on the car stereo. So
didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Well, if you ever run into one now, if you ever happen to get into Mole's AMC Gremlin.
If you have a car radio like that, go ahead and just kill yourself.
It's time to change. My mom had 8-track. Did you guys ever have 8-track?
I did have an 8-track in my old Riviera. I had some sweet 8-tracks, too, man. I had Physical Graffiti on 8-track. I had Dr. Hook on 8-track.
Wow. I just threw all my 8-tracks out.
Wow, that sucks. Yeah. 8-track is just it's the worst.
It is. Oh. I had a whole collection.
No, come on. No. It isn't awesome. It's not. It's not good.
You get the best sound quality on 8-track.
Get the fuck out of here. Sound quality against what? It's all airy and shit. You usually got to shove that piece of paper in to get it to work right. We had like albums. Like I know.
Use the piece of paper. Mine always worked beautifully.
Oh, baloney.
Occasionally I had to jiggle it to get it out, though.
Yeah, and pull out the table.
That was my big problem. They had a tendency to not eject all the way.
You got to eject. You got to jiggle it to get it out.
You could only really
like eject it, and then you have to sort of yank on it while you're pressing the eject button.
You could only fast forward it, and like it had like the 4 tracks, and like it was always like this thing where you would like fast forward, then it would switch to the track, then you'd have to go back, so you'd be like to get back to the one you were on.
It was hard to go after one specific song on an 8-track. I'll give you that.
Right, and then if you had a long song that was like too long, it would just fade out, and then it would, and then go to the next, and then start up again on the next track. Fuck, man, 8-track was horrible.
But it's not like it was real easy to go back, from, go to a specific song on a cassette either. Even the players where it had that thing where it would skip ahead one song.
True, but
that was a crapshoot at best.
True, but you could rewind, and I think rewind was the killer feature for a cassette because most people want to hear the song over and over again, so they just want to keep rewinding and playing it again. Not fast forwarding through 5 songs to get back.
Well, maybe if you buy quality albums, you don't have one song you want to listen to over and over again. You want to hear the whole things from beginning to end because it's all quality music.
That's why CDs
so
kill
that's
music.
On them.
Listen, tape in general blew. I'm not saying CDs were great or are great or anything. Vinyl is probably the best as far as like real
tape for great
real sound. No, because tape's audio fidelity isn't very good. It usually sounds like it's like underwater.
And tapes always died after about the 5th time you listen to it.
It wasn't that it sounded great, but it's like you could do stuff with tapes. You could record stuff. You could make your own mixes. You could do, you know what I mean? And you could do that now with CDs, but back then, that was the thing to do. So that's what makes them cool. I still have a whole shitload of cassettes. I don't have a cassette player, but I got them.
It didn't really take like the. I'm not saying it's hard today or anything at all to make a CD, but it's like less. I think it's less fun in a sense because you actually had, when you were like making tapes, you actually had to listen to the songs while they were recording for the most part, unless you had some weird super radio or something. So
high-speed dubber that made it go fast.
So you could actually spend like a couple of hours sitting there like listening to the songs yourself as you put it together. I mean, certainly you could do that today. You could just force yourself to listen to every song while you're building your CD. But for the most part, you could just like select 10 songs, move it over, press a button, burns it out, It's not like it takes the same amount of effort.
All right, well, anyways, let's talk about cars.
Yeah, sorry. So, Anderson, parents, what'd you have?
I'm trying to think. I remember the earliest memory I have is my parents buying this brand new station wagon. It was a blue station wagon. And the only reason I remember it because I sat in the back. I was like, look at this. I'm laying down in a car. I was like 4 years old or whatever. I was like, I'm flopping around. My dad drove a crappy Vega. I think it was a green Vega that he got from
I don't even know what a Vega is.
It was a car from the 70s. It was one of those old ones that made a lot of noise. It had a real muffler. But anyways, and then after that, there was a Ford Tempo in there. There was a Dodge 024. My parents bought like crazy cars. Then they started buying like Grand Marquis and stuff. They started getting old. My dad, towards the end of it, before he retired, he bought a truck. He bought a white truck. You might remember it, Kevin.
Yeah, I remember your dad's white truck. There was kind of like a tinge of fear in that I got when I saw that truck. Like I was almost afraid to go to your house. Like because I could go to Don's house, if his dad wasn't home, and not that his dad ever gave me any problems at all, but I could go to his house and his dad wasn't there, and he just felt more comfortable knocking on the door.
Right, because he wasn't going to answer the door and be like, "Hey, what you doing here? Who are you?" Like I'm Kevin Baird. Remember I was here yesterday? I'm the tall kid. All right, you're tall. All right, go ahead. What you need? But anyways, he had a white Ford Ranger, and that was like just when I started to drive because I didn't get my license till I was like 17, and I didn't really get a car until I was almost 18. But my dad had this white Ford Ranger, and anytime I wanted to borrow my mom's car, they would say, "No, you can't take that car, but you can take your dad's truck." And it was like, you'd be like, "Okay, let's fuck it," you take a truck. Well, my dad, being the smart man that he is, he's like, I don't want people taking it. He didn't want people taking his truck. The truck that he bought, being Scottish and cheap, had no power steering, no power brakes, and an AM only radio.
Nice.
So it'd be like you could take the truck. Let me call my buddy up and see if he can get his car. I mean, then of course desperate times call for desperate measures, and of course I would take it. And this truck also had one of those bench seats as well, so that was always kind of annoying too. But it was just, you go to pick like Oz up and be like, he'd be like, "Hey, let's put on the radio." And it's like, "Yeah, go ahead. You can listen to Christian Bible talk or sports talk, AM radio only, buddy." So I remember that truck. That was a pain in the ass. But then they started buying those old people cars, the Grand Marquis and the Mercury Cougars, and
Old people cars.
the big cars, like the one I got now. But my first car, am I allowed to talk about my first car now, or what am I supposed to do now?
No, I mean, we'll just move to Larry really quick. We'll get to your car in a second.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, I didn't know because you started talking about. Yeah,
no, I didn't.
Your brother.
Yeah, didn't talk about mine. Larry, parents?
Actually,
did you have parents?
The first one I remember my dad having was a AMC Gremlin.
Really?
Yeah, a purple Gremlin. So I remember them fondly. That was right around the time my parents got divorced. And I remember my mom had like a brown Shelby Mustang that she got on the cheap somehow. I remember the interior was all messed up, so I'm sure that had part to do with it. And I remember the 8-track CD or the 8-track player. Although I believe, if I remember correctly, my dad was the one who installed the AM and FM radio because that was a big upgrade.
FM's good.
So those are the ones I remember my parents having when I was young. Later on, I remember my dad got he decided to flaunt his wealth and got like one of those crazy ass big Buicks, like a. I don't remember if it was a Riviera or a Regal or it was one of those status symbol type cars that was just an absolute piece of crap.
Just big.
He leased it, and finally, I don't think we had it a year. And after about the 7th time he had to take it into the shop for something different, he was like, "You know what? This car sucks ass. You're voiding my lease now. I'm not giving you any more money for it. You're giving me another car." And that's just the end of the discussion. But those are the cars I remember from my childhood. So nothing particularly interesting. Sorry.
Okay, my brother is on, so let's get him. He can get him up to speed really quick here.
Not really. It's going to take another half hour.
Hey,
What's up, man?
finally got back. We just went and saw Star Trek with my kids. It was pretty cool.
Cool.
Long ass movie.
Yeah, the whole 2 hours, dude. My life ended. Long ass
Well,
movie.
I mean, because it took them at noon.
Dude, it's not Gone with the Wind. Calm down.
All right, so we're talking about cars. You're right on time because we're just getting started, actually.
Just getting to Brian.
Yeah, we really are. I told...
How bad was the roast while I was gone?
Well, I was
How bad
talking...
was it?
No, it wasn't...
I don't know what you're talking about.
It wasn't
Yeah.
too bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Cocksucker.
It could have been worse.
I was telling everybody about Mom and Dad's cars after they came over the border from Canada. And Mom had... What was that first car that caught on fire in the garage? Do you remember?
That was a T-Bird.
Okay, she had a T-Bird. And did that burn the whole garage down? Is that why we built that new garage?
No, we didn't have a garage before that. It was a brand new garage, and something in her electrical system caught on fire. And after that happened, nothing. There was really no damage to the garage at all.
Oh, really? See, I was such a
Yeah.
little kid, man. I don't even remember. I mean, I was young.
I just remember jumping around, doing the pee-pee dance because the fire department was there, and they came up and they sprinkled some water, and then they stuck around to make sure it wasn't going to flash up, and then they left.
Okay, and that's when she bought the Gremlin, right?
She got rid of it because the car was sort of trashed, and so she went from the big ass fucking T-Bird to the fucking Gremlin, man. Go figure.
A mole car.
And we'll talk about we already talked a little bit about the Nova, but we'll come back to that with you when we
USS Bobo Mobile.
yeah, because it was your basically first car. Dad's Maverick. You don't have anything interesting to say about that car, do you?
I just remember that he owned it, and for the longest time, I could not remember what in the fuck it was called. I'm like, okay, so it's a kind of horse thing. The last drivers meeting I went to, man, all the truck drivers go. I'm sitting there. Of course, people are talking to us about stuff that's going on in the company. So I just fade out, and I'm like, my dad had a car, but I can't think of what the fuck kind it is. And they're like, well, was it a Mustang? I'm like, no, but it was a kind of car. It was like a horse. It reminded me something like that. And they're like, Pinto? I'm like, no, he would never drive a Pinto, man. And we went through it, and all of a sudden, like, like we're watching like a movie. And all of a sudden, I'm like, a Maverick. That was. There's like, oh, Christ.
Yeah, I remember our dad. He would jimmy rig stuff because he could never afford freaking to get real repairs.
Oh yeah, the whole car was put together with coat hangers.
Yeah, like the muffler fell off this one time on our trip to Canada, and he repaired it with a coat hanger and a beer can, and and it worked really well. I think even when Brian got it, it still had that attachment. But I could only imagine the when something did go wrong, that the auto mechanics looked under that thing and they were like, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah,
there's a Busch beer can on here and stuff. Yeah, so then again, maybe they liked his ingenuity. So all right, so my first car, which eventually becomes Brian's later car. So let me think. Maybe we should do Brian. Why don't you talk a little bit about the Nova, since that was your first car?
Okay, well, originally the Nova wasn't the first car I owned. The first car I owned was the Citation,
right?
But I couldn't afford it. Right, because like the transmission was fucked. Okay, so my dad got a loan immediately because I put it in his name, and I never owned the Nova. It was never in my name. It was always in Dad's name. But I didn't care. 4 wheels engine. He didn't care what I did with it as long as I put gas in it. So basically, that was the trip. He's like, "I'll pay for it, but
I get the Citation. You get the Nova, basically."
Yeah, he wanted the good car, and I got the rubbish car. He's like, which again. Bears never get their brakes fixed, so the first thing I had to get fixed was the fucking brakes. Because, I remember I took this one guy, Dolan, the older Dolan, to the state liquor store because he was 21. I was 21 yet. I needed a bunch of booze. He's like, "Yeah, I'll buy it for you, man, but you got to buy me something too." And I'm like, "All right." So we're on our way to the state liquor store, and I'm like roaring up Columbia Road, and like traffic stopped, and I hit the brake, and it was just like, as we continued to go forward, he looks over at me and he's like, "We're not going to stop, are we?" And the Nova wasn't exactly like the safety belts weren't exactly. I mean, it was in name alone, safety belt. I mean, that was the car that Dad one time took us to fucking school, and he made that left-hand turn. The door just popped open on us. He's like, just over. Fucking closes it and shit. I was like, oh my god, man. So I inherited that piece of shit. I basically lived in that thing for the first year I had it. I was never home, man. I was always going over people's houses at parties, and I'm like, I'm too drunk to drive home, so I just sleep in the car. And they came out the next morning like, "Dude, you're still here?" Yeah, I didn't want to drive. Like, you got to get out of here, man. Can't park here. So, the fucking Nova. Oh my god, that thing was like a brick. If you could when they designed, that's like a Chevy, right? So like Chevy Nova, they're like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna make this car look? And they're like, dude, I don't know, man. I'm out of ideas. And they look over and there's a brick. They're like, look, we'll make it look like that.
Put some wheels on that.
Yeah, we'll just make it for people. Because I remember when our dad got it, because that was about the same time when we were getting the driveway made, and we had this giant fucking pile of gravel in our backyard to, I guess, mix the concrete. I didn't know. The whole, I'm a little vague on how that thing got made, the driveway and shit, because before that it was all gravel, so they decided to add more gravel to make the driveway, yada yada. And I just remember my brother and I were trying to climb up to the top of it and slide back down, and our mom was like, "Get down from there." And then, we're expecting my dad to come home with, a Corvette or something. And he comes home with a fucking Nova. And even my mom, I distinctly remember just so that's the new car? Oh, it's very nice. But you could tell by her voice, she was just like, dude, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I think you could afford it, so.
Okay.
But,
all right. Yeah. So don't talk about the LTD yet. But when you got done with the Nova, did you go to anything before the LTD?
Yeah, the Citation. Because Dad got rid of it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I remember
the fucking thing worked great, I mean...
Kinda. I mean, basically, he left it in Jamestown to die. And,
dude, I need a car that's not the Nova, because the Nova was it was dead.
Don Cease and I once tried to revive it.
I mean, I opened up the hood one time looking at the Nova, man, it was fucking orange underneath. It was what fucking body of water has this thing been laying in for the past 5 years, man? It's just all fucking there's no saving it. I mean, there was no liquid in that car whatsoever. I mean, even windshield wiper fluid was optional. And so finally the thing died, and Dad's like, well, I'll give you the Citation, and you can have that. So I just drove the Citation, because by then he had moved on to, I don't remember.
Yeah, that Cougar.
Yeah, so I got the Citation, and that thing was it was kind of cool because it was a lot better, as far as it was faster. You know, you didn't have to worry about hitting a bump and also the thing knocking itself out of gear. You know, and all the resilience gotten. You know,
think of that.
Like, what was that fucking? Remember that fucking? We go to the bottom of one hill over there in the Metro Parks, and there was that giant fucking car swallowing chuck hole. And if you hit it, man, you hit it just right, all the lights in your fucking dashboard come on. You know, like, you know, abandon ship, we're gonna blow. You know, it was fucking crazy. You know, the citation was like so small. You know, you just like go around and like, you know, another car will be coming the other way. You know, and it's like there's like just enough room for 2 fucking cars, and you're already in the wrong lane because you don't want to go into that gigantic fucking hole. And you're just like, Jesus Christ, you know, and the guy coming at you, his eyes are as wide, the fucking tires, like, yeah, because nobody in Cleveland has any common sense. You know, we all drive like about a zillion fucking miles an hour.
Yeah, Citation was actually a 4-door, though. It was actually bigger than you think. Yeah, it wasn't as small as, say, the Gremlin was. It was, but I know what you're saying. The Nova was a complete death trap. It was scary, and in a good way, though, when you're in your 20s or early teens like I was, and you didn't care about dying. So you're like, cool, Brian, drive us somewhere and stuff, you know, and there's, like, fucking fumes in the air, and you got that nasty heater core smell coming up. Yeah, all right, lovely. So, my first car, then... This is kind of odd. Don Cease had an LTD, and basically that was his first car. And
everybody knew the LTD.
The LTD is basically like a big 2-door car with a giant hood. I think it had a 305 in it, and it was like a clown car because it had 2 giant bench seats, and he could fit 20 people in the fucking thing. And
that thing was godlike.
Yeah, he was basically, you know, the
bus driver.
He's older than everybody in a sense, you know, in my age group, and like he was born in January, so he was the first guy with his driver's license at 16, and so you know he's the only friend we had that drove, so he drove us all over everywhere, and it was a cool car, but he sold it to me, and I bought it really cheap, like $300 or something. But I didn't have a driver's license. I bought it, I was probably 17 years old, maybe. And I didn't have a driver's license. So it just sat in my apartment complex for a while. Not forever, but for maybe like 4 or 5 months. And then Brian needed a new car. So my dad... Uh-oh. Who's got the call?
Me. Machine will pick it up in a second.
You're going to get that? Yeah. So Brian got this car, and Brian, why don't you tell us what happened when you got the LTD?
Oh, that thing. So like, I have a couple stories about the LTD because number one, you know, it came with its own anchor. You know, I mean, it's one of those cars that young people today look at and they're like, how did anybody get anywhere in that thing? Well, I'll tell you. When I first got it, I picked up at this garage in North Olmsted, suburb out here in Cleveland. These 2 guys that worked on all of Dad's contraptions, all his cars, and I don't know what it was that they originally were supposed to have fixed, but I did notice quite quickly that they did not fix the tires, the brakes, or nothing, because I got it, and I'm like, God damn, man, this fucking thing doesn't seem like it wants to stop very much. Like, at first it seemed to work, but as time went by, you know, as a couple miles went by, it didn't want to fucking slow down all that much. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get this thing. But, you know, I was too far away to go to the garage. They were already gone because I got there late. I had my wife at the time in the car, and we're driving through the Metro Parks, and anytime you go in the Metro Parks, as I'm sure you've heard of us describe the Cleveland Metro Parks, you have to go downhill, and none of these hills are sane. Okay, like there's like one hill, Cedar Point Hill is kind of sane, but even then, like, you know, you'll be like, Cedar Point Hill, isn't that like the amusement park? And then you go down the hill and you understand why. Anderson actually went down on a rollerblades once, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
Didn't you? No?
I went down, you know how if you go down Cedar Point Hill and you keep going towards like NASA?
Yeah.
That hill that hill over there, that road curves a lot.
That's still crazy, dude.
I drove. I went all the way. I'm the one who drove all the way to the NASA gate, put the car in neutral, and took the hill backwards.
Let me just explain something to our
car full of people.
Let me explain something to our listeners in case people are interested. Basically, we've talked about the Metro Parks before, but in case you've never been to Cleveland, you don't understand. Cleveland, as you know, have the burning river and all that kind of stuff. Basically, there's a big river and a number of other rivers that go in and around Cleveland and eventually dump into Lake Erie. And so there's a park system, essentially, that's built all along the river. And the river, being a river, is, below the rest of society in case it ever were to flood. You don't want all those people in the suburbs flooding out, because here in the Midwest we're smart, unlike other people that obviously live near rivers that we see on the news every year, and they're like, I don't know what happened, my home went down the river. That doesn't happen here, because the Metro Parks actually gets closed off when it rains really heavy. They put out these roadblocks, and you just can't go that way, and because basically they just let the roads flood. The road's flooded, and there's just high water until the water recedes. So that makes it so that the roads that you drive on are twisty. You can't just speed that. Well, you can try to speed down the things, but essentially you can't, because you will literally fly off the road. And we've had numerous friends who have lost their cars because being drunk and going down there, you
smash into people coming up.
Right, you just roll over. Like Brian says, there's big chuck holes, and you just fly off the road. You don't know what you're about to...
You didn't fly off the road, you just disappeared,
You
dude.
just didn't know what you're going to run into.
Yeah, you were just like, hey, man, what the hell is that in the road? Is that water? Ah! And all of a sudden you hear the fucking theme song from fucking Land of the Lost. Marsha, Will, and Holly. On a route, you just, ah! And there's dinosaurs at the bottom. And the fucking thing was so goddamn deep.
And there's a couple of there's many areas of the metro parks that aren't around rivers. I don't want to make it sound like it's exclusive to that, because there are nature preserves and other things that. We lost Larry. Hold on, getting him back. And
this is an hour.
This is that weird thing where it's
the hour thing.
All right. Well, Brian, go ahead with your story.
Anyway, so we're going through the Metro Park, and I decided to let you go. So now you know that it's sort of steep, and it was snowing out. And my ex-wife, anytime she fucking used to get nervous, she would start just babbling endlessly, And I finally looked at her. I'm like, shut up! We're going to fucking die! I can't stop the car! It's snowing! Shut up! Typical Ohio snow. I mean, it was like, sort of snowing when I left the gas station. By the time I got to the fucking hill, it was already like an inch deep on the road. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. And that was the car I was going to start taking to work when I worked at Stouffer's downtown, right? And it's like, I'm on my way to my interview, and I had to call it off because I couldn't stop the car on the freeway. I mean, the brakes were so bad that, I'm going to fucking die out here. I'm hitting fucking bumper-to-bumper traffic, and I didn't want to be, smashing bumper-to-bumper into people. And I, got off the off-ramp, and I was going, 45, and the car would not stop. So I drove over two little tiny trees. They plant. I don't know why the fuck they plant them there. And I was like, oh, shit. I got back home. I called the guy I was supposed to interview. I'm like, look, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to be stupid, but this is what happened. He's just like, oh, my God, you okay? I'm like, yes.
But Brian, you got to talk about when you went to the gas station.
Hold on, I'm getting there. I'm just like, cars that big, they don't want to stop when they're fucking moving fast. And then so it's so humiliating. It never occurred to me to even fucking look, because you don't know these things exist until they trap you. So I was on my way to my dad's house, right? I forget why. I was in North Homestead for some reason. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm fucking almost out of gas. And now, I mean, it's one of those days, where I just did not look at the fucking gas, it didn't register to look at the gas, right? So I run out of gas. And I park on the side of the road. I got to the side of the road. Okay, I'm like, fuck, I got to use a phone. I look over, there's an elementary school. All right. So I fucking...
Oh, boy.
Dude. I walk into the elementary school, and I walk past a class of little kids, and I walk past...
And Brian's got, spiked hair and a fucking leather jacket.
Yeah, trench coat. And all I hear is little kids, going, ha, 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 ha. And I'm like...
the clown is here.
I'm only guessing... I'm guessing that the teacher led the rebellion in this, okay? So I get to use the phone. I walk up to the office. I'm like, I need to use the phone. Okay, they're like, okay, go ahead, use the phone. I call up Huska because I knew he was home. I'm like, dude, my car's out of gas. Could you stop over here with a gas can? Pick me up? He's like, well, where are you? I look at the people at the fucking school like, where am I? I don't. So all right. So I walk back to my car, and as I'm leaving the school, I hear little kids, like you little cocksuckers. I'm not fucking making a scene, as I may need to use the phone here again. So Husker shows up, gas can in hand. He's like, let's go get some gas. I'm like, all right. So we fucking leave the car there. We go to a gas station. We get gas. Come back. Go to put the gas in the fucking tank. And I open it up and I look. And it's one of those gas caps that lock. And I don't have the key. So I'm like, Husker looks at me and goes, he just gives me that look with a raised eyebrow. He's like, you're fucking with me, right? And I'm like, no, man, I didn't know. He's like, how long have you had the car? I'm like, dude, I never fucking had to fill it up. I just got it. He's like, all right, man, let's go get you to the phone. He's like, who are you going to call? I'm like, well, I got this from my dad, so maybe I should call him. So I call him. He's at work. I'm like, hey, Dad, it's Brian. He's like, what's up? I'm like, you wouldn't happen to have the key to the gas cap for the car, would you? He's like, yeah, I would. Like, you wouldn't happen to think that maybe I might need that at some point in the near future? He's like, what? He's like, well, what do you need it for? I'm like, I'm out of gas. Why do you need gas in the car? He's like, God damn it, where are you? I'm like, well, I'm over here on the side of the road. He's like, well, I'm at work now. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'll be waiting at your house. Okay, so later I need to come with the gas can. Huska's like, I might as well hang out. I'm like, what am I going to do with the gas? Put my lawnmower? So we put gas in the car later. And it was just so humiliating. I'm like,
no, didn't you take the gas cap out with a crowbar? I think you did, dude. Because it was dented on the side of by the gas cap. You guys, you punched it off with a crowbar.
Did I?
Yeah, Dad didn't have the key. Nobody had the key.
Sake.
You guys had to put gas in the car. So
I thought he had the key.
So you
crowbarred
it off. Yeah, that's how fucking crazy it was.
I might have got that mixed up with some other fucking car. Jesus Christ, I ran out of gas all the time. And I was like, duh.
I remember seeing the LTD, and I was like, why is there that big dent on the fucking car? His dad didn't give me the gas key, and she had to crowbar it off. And then you didn't have a gas cap.
That's right.
You
oh, my God. Yeah, I was fucking pissed. That's right. I remember, because fucking Husk was like, what are we doing? I'm like, you got a crowbar? He's like, hey. So he goes against the crowbar, I guess, to me. I'm like, ah.
Yeah. All right.
I remember that.
So, Anderson, what was your first car?
My first car. What a beauty she was. The Green Goblin, a 1979 two-tone green Monte Carlo.
Yeah, I remember that.
The greatest hunk of machinery ever made. That was the oh my God, the things I let you do to that car. Son of a bitch.
What did I do? I didn't do anything. Shit.
Did you write on the dashboard? These are the rules for getting the meatball subs. There were rules written on my dashboard. He who pays stays.
All right, maybe I did do that. I don't remember.
Right.
I do remember that the seats were like literally couches. To this day, I can still remember sitting in those seats thinking, boy, this is very comfortable.
It was a very comfortable car. It was a great car. I paid $1,000 for it. It had 12,000 miles on it, and I bought it in 1990. I got it off my grandma. And then, that was my car. It had a tape deck. And I drove everybody around in that fucking thing. That car had so much stuff done to it. I had Kevin put a brand new stereo in it. Him and Don Cease worked on it or whatever. Put a brand new stereo in it, and Kevin's like, I got these speakers I want to put in your car. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't care. I was like, whatever, I don't care. They were literally stereo speakers. And when I say that to you, I say to you, they were stereo speakers, like home stereo speakers. And and they were like, I don't know, what were they, like 2 feet long? Something like that, 2-3 feet long or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Made out of wood. Yeah.
The big box speakers. And he hooked it up into my car. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. I was like, does it make my radio any louder? And he's like, no, they're just speakers. And it's like, okay, that's great. So I would jam them in the back between the top of the window and the back of the seat. You kind of jam them in there so they're like right there, and you get that little vision right between them when you're looking at the rear of your mirror. All you see is 2 big, huge speakers and a little hole in the back, and you're like, there's your car. Right. And then if I hit the brakes real hard, the speakers would come out and hit whoever was sitting back there in the back of the head. It's so funny. And then they'd be like, ow! I hit the brake and the speaker would hit him in the head, and they'd be like, ouch! Oh, what the hell? And I'd be like, oh, can you put that back up? Yeah, just push it in there real hard. They push it back in there. I drive again, hit the brakes again, and pop right back out. Hit them again.
Nice.
Just keep telling him, yeah. It had a broken, the passenger seat was broken. The handle, you know how you reach down to adjust the seat? The handle was broken or whatever, so the seat adjuster never worked there towards the end of it. And every time I hit the brakes, the seat would fly forward. And then as soon as I stop, it would shoot back again. And people didn't notice. They'd get in the car. I'd be like, hey, what's going on? They'd be like, nothing. I hit a red light. I slam on the brakes. They go flying forward. And when the car stops, they come flying back again. And they're like, what the fuck?
So they'd go flying forward and then get pelted in the back of the head with a speaker.
Right. I've hit everything imaginable in that car. Fire hydrants, the cement blocks that hold stop
Dude,
signs.
if you weren't hitting it, it was hitting you.
Right. I've hit cars. Cars have hit me. That car had seen, and that thing was and it was so old. It took it like a tank. It hit I knocked a fire hydrant off the ground and got a flat tire out of it. I mean, the front end was dusted up, but I took a fire. I was so scared when that happened because when I got emancipated, I was like, woo, I don't have to go. I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to go to school. So I'm driving down Dover Center and I pull off on one of them side streets in like Westlake, and I'm like, wow, look at that. It was all ice all the way down. I was like, this ought to be fun. So I start fishtailing, and then I lost control, and I'm sliding sideways towards a fire hydrant. I'm like, oh, fuck. all I can think of is I'm like, if I hit that thing, I gotta be ready to move, because if that water starts shooting up, no, I'm not getting stuck. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid of the water shooting up.
How'd that car die?
After its second engine that I put into it, I think I was finally like, you know what, fuck this.
Yeah. Did you trade it in, or did you sell it, or junk it? What was the?
I don't. You know, honestly, I don't know what. I remember driving it to someplace, and then I remember driving out with a truck and saying to myself, I can't believe I'm driving a truck. This is my truck. Am I driving this truck?
Dude, I felt the same way when I got mine too. I was just like, wow, I'm driving a truck. I felt like I was Dan James.
Well, we're gonna talk about trucks in a little bit. Actually, that's one of the topics. So we'll get to that. Larry, first car.
Yes. First car was a very nondescript, very unexciting Buick Skylark. I have no interesting stories about Skylark. I tend to blow through cars. I've always blown through cars.
Did you get it with your own money, or did somebody give you the Skylark?
I believe that was one right after I got my license. My dad bought it for me.
So it was
but it was one of those deals where it was, here's the maximum you're allowed to spend. So, I think he got it from somebody he worked with because it was cheap. I always get cheap, crappy cars just because, it's usually only a matter of time until I'm going to lose my license again anyhow, or it's going to get impounded, or it's going to die a slow, lingering death because I cannot, do not, and will not take care of cars.
All right, don't doom it all out, goddammit. How old were you when you got your driver's license?
I was 17. Because it took me several tries to pass the test.
Yeah, I know
you got to space those out. So I was 17 when I got my license.
All right. How did the Skylark die?
I don't even remember how the Skylark died. I think I got rid of it when I inherited my mom's Riviera. Because it was bigger and cooler, and I liked it more. It had more problems. The big one with that one was the fuel gauge didn't work. So
that's always good.
Yeah, that's always nice. We had figured out the maximum distance I could go on a full tank of gas, so I would always have to fill it up, mark down my mileage, and work from that to figure out the next time I needed to go. And I actually got good at it. The one time though, I knew I was cutting it close, but I didn't have any money, so I was trying to drag it out, and finally I was like, I need to get up there now because now we're into the red zone. And I was going to the gas station. And it was perfect because my car ran out of gas and stalled as I coasted up next to the fucking pump. So
that's called getting every penny's worth.
Yeah, it died. And of course, if you've never been in a car, as it runs out of gas, once it runs out of gas and that engine stops and you lose your power steering and you're driving a giant Buick Riviera, it becomes a pain in the ass. I was like, planting my feet, yanking on it with both hands, trying to get that bitch turned.
Yeah. Awesome.
Brian, how'd the LTD die? Did you trade it in?
I don't remember.
He killed it.
It was.
He didn't have it very long. You got that car from Lori's dad that had the idle turn.
I was thinking about that today, dude, on the way home of like different cars. I'm like going, man, all I remember is that one fucking car would sit there and idle at 50 fucking miles an hour. Everyone looked at me like I was some kind of fucking asshole because the car's like, the second I put out the fucking brake, it was like, and it was like, I was so embarrassed. And like, I couldn't even tough guy my way through that bullshit. I'm like, fucking hell.
That was back when gas was like 89 cents too or something, so it was like, it didn't matter,
Right.
Burn through. You could get like full tank and stuff for like $5 or something, $10.
Right.
You're just like, that's it. I got money for food and gas, and I'm good. Fuck. All right, so that takes us to. Let me see here. What's the next? Okay, what was your Brian? What was your worst car that you owned?
That was it, dude.
The one with the one with the idol.
Yeah, because I didn't have it very long. I think I had it for maybe like a week. It was just like,
wow.
Is that the one Lori wrecked?
There was the Sundance. I had the Sundance forever, and it was just like, anything that could possibly go wrong with a car went wrong with that one. I mean, in winter it was like you couldn't even drive it because it would just freeze. I know it gets cold and all, but goddamn, dude, there was times I had to call off work because I'm like, look, my car's frozen. I can't get it to move.
Right.
Which was embarrassing because then my dad, and then my boss would come pick me up in his car. He's like, no, you're working. I'm like, dude, come on. I wasn't like that happy sounding, was I? So, yeah, in fact, the Sundance, should I tell the car got stolen story?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I had a Sundance for a couple of years. That was like the first non-busted to shit car that I owned until like much later on, in which case it just stopped working.
It was fairly
totally.
nice when you bought it. I mean, it was it looked.
But
nice
we traded it in on a fucking minivan because by that time I had the kids and shit, and the minivan was pretty newish. So, but anyway, so we traded it in, and the car was dead. It would not start. It would not work. We couldn't figure it out. It was covered in bejesus and stickers and everything. By that point, my ex-wife was ready to get rid of it. So, we got rid of it, and it was like 6 months later. We got a call from the Canadian Mounties. Like, we found your car. We're like, look outside. There's the minivan. We're like, what? They're like, yeah, your Sundance. We found it. And this guy's accent was thick, dude. He wasn't like by the border Canadian. We're talking like he was fucking up God knows where by fucking in Canada. We're like, we traded that car in. We don't own it anymore. Like, well, your name was the only one we could find in the car. And so, I mean, do you want to come get it? We're like, no, you could keep it. Like, how did they get that thing to fucking... They stole it? How the fuck did they get it up to Canada, man? We couldn't even get it back to where the fuck we lived. Like maybe 2 miles from where the fuck it died at a restaurant to fucking our goddamn apartment, And like some fucking master mechanic thief broke it, like, I'll make it work and I'll fucking drive it up to Canada because I'm fucking escaping from New York, or some shit, I mean, how the fuck did they get it to work? It was just crazy.
That's weird. Yeah.
It's weird, yeah. Like, that thing was dead,
Worst car I ever had was a Honda Prelude. This was the same time Brian got his Sundance. We both were given like $1,000 from our mother. It was like one of the few times where we got anything from her, and we both bought cars. And Brian's car was better than mine. Mine, I was an idiot. I bought it. I liked the car, but it had a bad tranny to begin with, which was a mistake to buy a car with a bad transmission. But I was young.
Yeah, that's an important piece.
Yeah, I was young and stupid, and I was like, well, whatever, I'll buy. Because I had a Camaro, and at one point, and its transmission I thought had fallen out, and it cost me like $600 to fix it. So I was working at the time when I had this Prelude, and I was like, well, if the transmission goes, I can probably, get $600 together to fix it. Well, wrong, because it was a foreign car, and it was a fucking Prelude. So when the transmission did fall out, it was like over a grand to repair the fucking thing. And I went to this horrible place called General Transmission on like West 150th that my dad set up, which was these guys were a bunch of crooks, and they never got the fucking thing to work right. For over a year, they fucked around and tinkered with this fucking thing to get like the fucking thing to work, and it never worked right. And I I spent about $1,000 on the car. Spent over $1,000 on the transmission. My dad had a stroke while the car was being worked on, so I was driving his car when he actually had his stroke, and I ended up turning around and selling that car for $100. That Prelude. Once I got it back, because the transmission was never fixed. And basically, I sold it to this guy because I told him that the radio was good. I was like, it takes CD. And
I would have bought batteries.
And he basically was like, cool. And the only way he could drive it was that he had to snap it into second, because first never worked in the car. And that was after paying for a brand new transmission. But because the warranty on the brand new transmission that never worked right was up after that year, there was nothing else they could do supposedly for it. Yes, I could have probably taken them to court and everything, but I was retarded. And really, what are you going to get? You know, you're going to spend all that money to go to court and everything, and then they're going to be like, "Well, we'll fix it," you know, and then they wouldn't. So anyway, worst car ever. Hated it. Anderson,
worst car?
Yeah.
Have to be this Dodge Dynasty that I had a couple years back.
I don't even remember that.
No, this is during the married period. Because you're talking about my whole life, right?
Yes, dude, your whole life. Your car.
You're not talking about back in the day.
Not talking about the afterlife or nothing yet. Just no.
Right.
Your whole life.
Okay. I had a blue Dodge Dynasty. It was a little 4-door car. I called it the Dynasty because you probably would die nasty if you drove in it.
Oh, was that the one you were going to give to Tony?
So yeah, it's the one I gave to him, and then I had to go and repossess it from him.
Oh, that thing was a hunk of shit. Okay.
Hey, you know what? As hunk as it was, it got you from A to B. That was good enough.
It was just ugly, man. It was just like an ugly car. Go on.
It had the windshield wipers didn't work. The as you were driving it, it would ding. You would just be like bing, 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 and like the locks would start going up and down. And they'd start locking and unlocking, and then like the driver's side window broke, so it got stuck down. So whenever it rained, you had no windshield wipers and your window was open, so you're getting pelted in the face and you can't see. The heater broke, and I was driving it from Fairview.
That's a bad thing in this state.
I was driving from Fairview out to Legacy Village. You know, November, December, January.
Oh.
At 6 o'clock in the morning. In this vehicle, you know, with the open window, no windshield wipers, and you would get one shot at the windshield wipers. Here's the thing about that: is you'd get one shot at it because if you turned them on, they would swoop up, but they would just wouldn't come back. So it's like you're driving. I'd be driving and I'd be like, nope, I got this, and you'd get to a point where you couldn't see, and you'd have to hit it, and it would swoop them up, and you'd be like, okay, I can see again. No, I can't. Okay, you know, it was terrible. I stopped on the highway like 4 or 5 times just to get out to reset them, so that I could have one crack at it in the rain, sitting on a plastic bag with a plastic bag covering me, and I used to pick up dudes for work. I used to pick guys up. I'd be like, "You want me to drive?" And they'd be like, "Sure." They got in the car the one day, and that was it.
Like, fuck this.
What was it like?
But otherwise, it was a great car.
Didn't Adam have a car where he had windshield wipers that they used a string?
He had to put a string on them.
And he would pull the string from inside the car in order to make the windshield wipers work. Yep. It was totally Flintstone style. Yeah,
that's totally metal.
He totally did that.
That's awesome. Larry, worst car?
I'm sorry, I haven't had any bad cars. I mean, all my cars have been cheap, but I can't think of one that stands out in my head as a bad car.
You ever had any bad repairs or anything? Didn't?
I mean, I've had bad repairs. I think it was that Skylark. It was the exhaust system. Something with the exhaust died, and took it in to get an estimate. And I don't remember the number, but it was one of those things where they give you a number and you just kind of stare at them like, you know, is that dollars or pesos or what is that? Because you can't actually think, I'm going to spend that much on this fucking car, can you? So my dad and I decided to do it ourselves because we're both retarded. Granted, like, I am completely not handy at anything, anywhere, under any circumstances. My dad is a very handy dude, but not so much with cars. He could probably sit down with a hammer and a bucket of nails and a friggin' axe and a tree and build you a house. Cars aren't really his thing. But we're like, you know what? We can handle this. It's just the exhaust. It's a bunch of big pipes that you friggin' screw in together, and this will be easy. So we decided to do it ourselves. Basically had to rebuild the exhaust from, like, the manifold back. Which is not as easy as you might think, considering it's just a bunch of pipes that you shove together. It took the better part of a weekend. Was a complete disaster, but we finally got it put together, and we're like, okay, it looks good. We started it up. Everything looked fine. We're good to go. The next day, I took the car out. I'm driving around, and I just hear this nice, clangy thud underneath me. I look in my rearview mirror, and there's my catalytic converter and a pipe. So, being a dumbass, I stopped the car, and for the kids listening at home, I don't know, some of you might not know this. Once you've been driving in your car, if you ever see your catalytic converter fall off in the middle of the road, going back and picking it up is a horrible, horrible idea.
Yeah, don't touch it. Yeah, wear gloves.
I
forgot to mention that.
I pull over, I get out, I was like, oh, this is going to be hot. So I at least had the forethought to think this is going to be hot. So I took off my shirt because I can use that as gloves. Because, a nice cotton T-shirt, it's about the I think that's what welders use as gloves. So I take off my shirt, wrap it around my hands, grab this thing, and, like, the pain is just insane. But I'm, like, too stupid to just drop it and come up with another plan. So I run it back to my car and just kind of throw it on the floor in front of the passenger seat.
Oops.
Drive home. By the time I get home, I, of course, have no fingerprints anymore. So if I were smart, I would have just embarked on a life of crime then. But I get home, and in the 20 minutes it took me to get back home, the matting of the carpet on the passenger seat had just melted into, like, a solid sheet of plastic underneath this thing. But so there's my bad repair story for you.
Wow, yeah. Okay. I was gonna go with something off of that, but I'll wait. So that takes us into, like, bad car repair in general. You ever get that situation where you take your car in and then they tell you that they fixed it and they fixed something that wasn't what was wrong with your car?
Never been that lucky.
Larry was talking about when your catalytic converter fails. I'll tell you guys something else. Interesting thing about your catalytic converter, it provides this back pressure, which actually gives you more power to your engine. And there's a cap on there, and if something goes wrong, it depends on your car, too. If you got some fucking modern car, probably doesn't even have this shit anymore, but it used to. And there's a cap there, and if something goes wrong, the cap can blow off, and you lose all this power in your car. And being a dumbass, I had my Camaro, and I was driving my mom around, and my catalytic converter popped, and I thought my transmission had blown. So I'd actually replaced my transmission because I thought that's what was wrong with it. And the mechanics were like, okay. They never even checked the damn thing. So when I picked the car back up, it was still making the noise, and it still had low power. I was like, did you guys change this thing? And they're like, yeah, we gave you a whole new transmission. That's just your catalytic converter cap. So I ended up spending a fortune, on a transmission over something that was basically like a $10 part at the time that they could have just smacked back on there. Well, dude, I'm retarded. I don't know anything about cars. That's why,
That's why you come to the mechanic.
Right. You know? Exactly.
I'm already signifying I don't know anything by coming to you, obviously, because I'm saying we're going to pay you too much money to do a job that I really probably could do, but I'm just too dumb or lazy to find out myself.
Right. I mean, that was the thing about mechanics is that I basically look at I these days I do have a newer car. I mean, it's a 2005, and I always take it to the dealer, and people are always like, "Oh, don't go to the dealer; you'll get ripped off." Look, everybody rips you off.
Yeah.
Everywhere I've
stick it in,
ever
break it
been fucking rips you off. The only thing is, to me, is that the dealer will fix it right and rip me off at the same time. It's just like they've seen my car. They know what kind of car it is. They have, like, you know, diagrams and blueprints and things. I'm not taking it around the corner because today's car is not like it was in the 70s. Yes, in the 70s, everybody could fix your car. Today, they can't because everything's weird. And you'll go around to your buddy mechanic and he'll get some part from somewhere made in China and stuff and be like, oh, it's the same part. Yeah, we'll just put this part in and stuff. Oh, yeah, and it'll fix your car, but God knows what else it's doing to your car. You know, you don't know what part it's melting into your engine. I'm a little bit paranoid about it, but it's true. And these days, I just go to the dealer because, you know, it's complete rip-off city no matter where you go. They're always telling you need something else. Well, yeah, you know, I was under there, and you did need the front brakes,
your
you were saying.
third transaxle broke.
Yeah.
What?
But you got the little boot thing, a little boot here, and you got this bearing, and the arm is gone. You don't know what he's talking about. I mean, you just don't, you know. And you could ask your mechanic buddy, but your mechanic buddy is tired of getting asked. He's like the guy. He's like a computer guy. He's tired of it. He's just holding his head, and he's like, well, maybe that guy's right. Because he just doesn't want to work on it, you know? He doesn't want you to be like, well, can you look at it? Because he's got like 10 cars in his driveway already.
He's got nothing else to do,
and
right?
He's just like, no, you know? Because then he's going to just Jew you down anyway out of the money and stuff, and you have nothing.
Oh, boy, here we go.
So, anyway, I don't, you know, generally with car repair, I don't even change my own oil. I could, I guess, but I actually I never took an auto shop class.
I got no place to put it.
The only thing I can do in a car, I can change a tire. I've done that a million times because I drive my tires right down to the fucking until they just explode while I'm driving. Is I can change a fucking battery because that's the other thing in the car that always just shits on me. But anything else, like if the car just goes it doesn't start, I forget it. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm supposed to even like look at first. I could pull the dipstick out and look at the oil. You know, but I mean, I don't fucking know anything. So I mean, yeah, I totally got to take it in and you know hope that somebody fucking doesn't screw me. But they all do. They all do. Brian, what's your feeling about car repair?
Pretty much what you said, dude. Fucking any kind of thing you're going to take it in for. It's like you said, man. It's like if you have to, first off, you go in there and you're like, okay, you know. You want to have a kind of idea of what the fuck is wrong with your car because you don't want them to suddenly like act like, you know, you just walk into a fucking mage's guild, you know, and they start fucking talking to like, you know, physics
it's your turn
combined
signal
with magic. Yeah, you know, you don't want them to tell them, you know, fix it. You don't want to appear like you're standing in front of them in a loincloth and a fucking bone in your hand, you know, and they're like, yeah, with fucking, and you're shitting gold coins. Right, you want to fucking think, okay, look, I have some idea. Like, Cease said it best once we talked about getting his car fixed. Like, look, man, I could fucking do it myself, okay? I'm just too lazy. All right, don't fucking run the diagnostics because that's the first thing they do. They hook your car up to a machine that's like, what is it, like $50 automatically?
Right, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it tells them what the fuck is wrong with your car. And it's like, dude, I didn't ask you to fucking do that. You're like, well, it's in the contract. We got to do it.
That's how we do it.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's $50. And then
you tell them what you want them to fix. You tell them what you want them to fix. You're like, fix the brakes and stuff, and then they're like, well, we're gonna hook it up to this fucking diagnostic and shit. And these days, it's like almost $100 for that, and it's just some bullshit. It doesn't cost them anything. You know what I mean? They're plugging that thing into your computer, and the computer in your car just basically goes, you know, it spits out a code. It's like 43 or something, and they look in the book and you're like, oh yeah, bad brakes or something. You know what I mean? Fuck them. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's serious, dude. It's like, how in the fuck does a machine? It's like they hook it up and the thing's barely in there for like a second. And it's just like this needs to be fixed. This needs to be fixed. And I'm like, I drive the thing. You know, you'd think I would know what the fuck is what else is wrong with it. I have no idea.
Yeah, you would think though that machine is like something out of like.
Then they come to you and they're like
Terminator or something.
That your brake lines are starting to fray, right? You know, you're like, no. Of course I don't fucking know that because when I came to you, I would have said, hey, You think maybe you could fix my brake lines too because they're starting to fray? Did I say that? No, I didn't fucking say because I didn't fucking know. When they talk to you like you're completely fucking out of your, you're like, you know? And it's like, dude, I know I'm stupid, okay? You know that shit's broken, but the only reason you know that shit's broken is because you just fucking looked at it. You know, the machine told you the shit was broken.
Well, it's not like when you go out there that they show you like what the hell they're talking about most of the time, or they point to something. Some places will like have it up on the lift, but 9 times out of 10 they wait until you're gone, and then they just call you on the phone. They're like, yeah, well, while we were under there, we noticed that you're leaking some oil, and you got a hole in your oil pan. You know, and you're
well, they don't tell you that most cars leak oil anyway.
It's just like, oh, all right, I guess I should fix that. How much is that going to be? Well, let's see. We got the part here, and then with the labor and everything, you're looking at another $190. You know, you're like, fuck. Well, what's the total going to be? You know, well, with the brakes, it's
always the worst, isn't it, dude? It's like
full charge and.
Your nuclear power plant is about to have a leak, so we're going to have to really fix that. You know it's like you feel like the world's biggest bum because they're coming at you and they're like naming a figure which is literally a down payment on another fucking car just as shitty as the one you got. They're like, look, man, I got an idea. Why don't you just fix what I ask you to fix and we'll get to that other stuff later?
You want to change the oil?
I really want to get to this stuff right now. I was like, no, I don't think I want to get to it right now. I think you should just like fix what I asked you to fix, okay?
Yeah.
And,
what can we get away with to make me street legal for now? That's what I used to always
exactly.
But then they're just loosening a bolt or something anyway, so you have to go back. I mean, it's like you're telling them that, but why is it that whenever you go, that like you've got to go back like 2 weeks later, you know, and because there's something else that's fucking wrong with it that's that they didn't catch when they were under there the last time.
That's why I always go to Jake.
Yeah, Jake. But I mean, Jake is like his ability is somewhat limited as well. If it's a common problem and it's an old car, then he can handle it. But
that's why. Well, like I said, that's why.
Like in order to fix my window in the car door, they had to rip the fucking inside of the car door out because they couldn't figure out how to get it off. You know, that's the kind of thing that Not sure he's the best mechanic I know, but he's cheap.
Dude, he's the only one I know, and he has this ultimate set of tools.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's cheap. When you're broke, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah.
The 40 people that are in his garage with him at the time,
In the conversations that he has, he just stops working and stands there and stares at you and starts talking. You're like, dude, how about you just fix my car? Like, I like you and all, but we can get through this a lot quicker if you just shut up and work. Great guy, though. Great guy.
You don't really got to worry about him listening to this show.
Okay, fuck you.
I'm going to come get you.
Just thinking.
I'm just kidding.
Probably.
He's helped me out on many occasions. He's actually come and picked me up at places.
No, he's a great guy, man. He's great. All right. I don't know why we're even talking about him. So, right. Anderson, what's your consideration about car repair?
I haven't. I don't know. I used to take my car to a place all the time. I used to take it like Firestone or whatever all the time. And they'd just rip me off constantly. And
I remember when you used to go to Firestone. You used to go to Firestone all the time.
I used to live up there. They had a picture of me on the wall. It's the greatest customer.
It was literally like every weekend I talked to him. He was always going up to Firestone. I was never quite sure what the hell was going on with that. It's like, why are you going to Firestone, dude? And you're like, well, that's where my car's at and stuff. And
that's where my car was at. Because sometimes it was just up there. I couldn't afford to pay them, so they would just keep it. They'd be like, well, we'll just wait till you get the money. And I'm like, all right, that's cool.
In the meantime, you'll be walking, buddy. You'll be busting.
Right, exactly. But I stopped. I stopped going to places like that. We had a place up there in Cleveland area, like a family-owned place, and they were really good. And they were always busy because they were really good. But other than that, no. I found my neighbor's brother was a mechanic down here, so whenever the car broke down here, when the brakes broke, he fixed them for me, stuff like that. But I try not to go to those big places. No, repairs suck.
You don't repair your cars, do you? You just drive them into the ground. Just admit it.
For the most part.
There's no
Did you hear about the Dynasty? I mean, that stuff just didn't happen.
You could have fixed it, right? But you were like, no.
You saw the Goblin.
Larry,
You know what the
Yes.
repairs?
The big reason I tend to get hand-me-down cars is because I always try to, if I'm going to buy a car, and it's rare that I buy a car, I have convinced myself I have to buy them new because I need that warranty, because I can't fix shit on a car. I know I can't fix shit on a car, and I admit I ain't great at taking care of them. I make sure I take it in for an oil change because I can't do it myself. When it starts to smell funny when I run the car. The tires, I on more than one occasion, I have run a tire till you could see like the metal bands showing through the side when they start to get those, or when they start to get those like bubbles in them and shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I run mine into the ground because I'm a cheap bastard, and usually by the time I take a car anywhere to get anything done, my last car, the brakes were just shot on it. Like, my brakes were making noises I've never known any brakes to make on any vehicle ever. So finally I was like, maybe I should take them and get them looked at. And my last car was a piece of shit that I paid, I think, like $1,200 for. And getting the brakes fixed was going to cost me like $2,500. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, if you're ever driving your car, okay, the thing where your brakes scrape, that's normal. I've gotten used to brakes scraping when I step on them. If you want something scary, hit your brakes, get that scraping, and then the whole car starts to shudder. Again, I've been through that before. But this one, I hear that bad scrape, the car's shaking, and then I just hear a pop, and the car stops shaking. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Right.
That probably wasn't good.
Yeah. That's going to happen to me soon. That's what my car does. I come up to red lights and I'm bopping back and forth. It's not. Yeah. And it's unintentional. I'm just like, well,
I just like, pop. Uh-oh.
Kids love it.
That's good when mom wants you to take the kids and it's not your weekend. Sorry, I just don't feel safe picking up our kids in my car.
That was the rule a month ago. Now it's like, well, I don't have a new car. Sorry. I don't have a choice now. She's like, well, you better come get them. All right.
Let's talk about car cleanliness for a minute.
Well, I'm out.
Yeah, that's pretty much everybody here, dude.
Well,
wow.
Kevin, I think it's like the cleanest.
I try to keep it. Listen, I try to keep it clean. In the inside nowadays, there's no like trash or anything, except for maybe like little bitty stuff that you can't get at because it fucking falls into the crevice, and fuck it. You got to get like some micro vacuum. But I just can't figure out these people that keep going and paying money for the car wash for the exterior of the car, because it's like, man, we live in Cleveland. And if it's not fucking, like, snowing and shit and salt on your car, then it's just covered in, like, tree sap and bird poo and fucking everything else. And so that, it's like you can't keep the thing washed unless you're going to the car wash all the time. Or, you're one of these crazy assholes that's out buffing your fucking car.
Washing it down with a diaper.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, really those people make me crazy.
Don't understand it. I just don't get it, because it's Cleveland. If I lived in sunny-ass California, I'm sure I'd still get some bird poop, maybe some sand on my car or something, but, it wouldn't be the nightmare weather horse. I mean, like, what was it, this past weekend or something? I don't know what time it was, like 9 or 10 in the morning or something. There was like a hurricane just passed through here.
Yeah.
I was just, just in bed still, and it was just like... like lawn chairs are flying by and everything, and I'm like,
that's always the best, man. Looking out your window, you just see shit go flying in the other direction. Like, what the fuck was that? I was like, don't go outside.
And then it just stops, and your car is covered with those spinny leaf seed pod things, and and yes, I could try to put it in the garage, but nobody here actually keeps their car in the garage because garages are used for holding all the other shit that you can't
all
keep
your video games.
Yeah, right. Video games or your workbench or your lawnmower and shit. No one knows where to put all that crap. So, it basically your car stands outside and just gets fucking fucked up. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. It's kind of like when I get a scratch on my car. I'm not one of those people. There's people out there like, oh, dude, oh my god, dude, there's a fucking who did? Oh, these people get all mad and shit. And I get at a grocery store or something, like somebody like ding my car or something. I'm just like, I live in Cleveland. It comes with purchasing the vehicle, as far as I'm concerned. I just know that is going to happen. I'm not going to get upset about it at all. I mean,
right.
If somebody put like their boot through my car door or something, there's a big dent, maybe then I'd be like, but if my car is dinged, I'm disappointed. I'm just like, can't have nothing. But that's it. Because, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was walking out of work the other night, and I was walking up to my car, and the light was I work in a mall, so there's I'm parking in the mall, and I come walking out, and the light was hitting the fender just like a different way, and I'm looking at it as I'm walking up, I'm like, oh shit, somebody hit my car and dented the fender. Oh boy. I didn't even, you know what I mean? I'm just like walking like, oh well, no big deal. I got closer, and it was just the way the light was hitting it, so everything was fine. I was like, huh, okay, everything's fine.
Nice.
I don't care, but you get those people that are like, oh my god.
Oh, dude, sometimes you don't even know what the fuck they're looking at. You're like, they're like, I got this fucking thing right here. What?
Ira Leach. Anyways,
I'll
just say that. I'll just say Ira Leach. I bumped his car.
I can empathize with those people because I remember walking out of the mall one time, walking to my car, and the way I was parked, I didn't realize it because I couldn't see the passenger side because I was walking towards the driver's side. I hop in my car, start to pull out, look over to the side, and the rearview mirror on the passenger side is gone.
All right, well, I
stop. I get out of my car. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I walk around. There's my smashed mirror sitting next to the car in like the parking spot next to me. I was like, oh god damn it! And of course, if you've never contacted mall security for anything, very useful group of people. I'm not sure what their function is, but it's not to assist with anything ever.
Right.
Right.
Oh, sorry. There's not much we can do for you.
Yeah, it's the car repair. Like the thing is, it's like your car is like so. Like I'm amazed it's like in the condition it's in. Like my car, like considering all the shit it gets like thrown at it, rocks from the road. Kids just riding up and banging into it. Fucking, dogs scratching on birds are pooing on it. Raccoons probably like tearing into like the garbage cans and eating next to it and everything, and it's just bouncing around down the road. My ass is in it, driving not properly, taking turns too fast, accidentally hitting the curb.
Yeah, you're hoping the wheels bevel, but sometimes you just know that you're just taking a chance of just your car's just going to like rip in half and go two different directions at once.
And it's just like, these people that freak out because there's shiny mirror like car. I mean, I understand. I mean, I you paid all that money for it and stuff, but really, you live in Cleveland. Just, it comes with the contract, like Brian says. It's it just is. But all right.
Yeah.
So cleanliness.
By the way, for somebody whose life is in as much disarray as mine, I am manically clean about my cars and the cars I use, except that I don't vacuum them.
On the inside, but do you wash them all the time on the outside?
When they get bad, because I know that as soon as I take it in, there will be sleet and hail tomorrow.
Right. No, I mean, I wash my car occasionally too, but I mean, like, maybe once a month or something.
But like the inside, the back seat, you'll have like whatever empty bag I generated that day, but as soon as I get home, it gets thrown out. I cannot understand those people who will have like 5 months worth of McDonald's bags in the back seat and like half of their laundry where they took it to the laundromat, half of it fell out of the basket, but they didn't feel like picking it up off the seat, so it's still there. Half of an uneaten pizza, shit like that.
Yeah, I know.
Those people I don't get.
And the only one that's like really crazy that I've ever sat in, I mean, everybody's got a messy car, and I've sat in some messy fucking cars. But Brian's girlfriend had this collection of Diet Pepsi bottles in the car.
Oh, yeah. She still does, dude. The new one she's got. Oh, yeah.
It was just like, God damn it, man. Like, how do you even sit in here? Because it's just like, they take up so much. Yeah. They take up so much volume of space. It's like, I don't know. Just get them out of there.
See, I don't know how you can do it with something like
she
a
never finishes her
Pepsi
pops,
bottle,
dude. It's like,
because those are small. As soon as you're done drinking your Pepsi, you should be chucking that out the window anyhow.
Right.
While you're driving. So
Yeah, sure.
Get those
I
littering.
clean my car like once a month, dude. But otherwise, I mean, there could be rats in there. I would never know.
My car's a fucking pigsty. My kids are like,
No,
damn,
the worst,
man,
dude.
clean this car
Dude, you know your car's a fucking total shithole is when you're driving down the road and like you suddenly discover like you have spiders or something fucking gross in your car, man.
oh yeah.
You know, my Ford Ranger, it was like it's something out of like Invasion of the Spider Kingdom, because I'd go out there and it was like a cocoon. You know,
Spiders love those Ford Rangers.
You're fucking driving down the road, and all of a sudden, like out of the ceiling next to you, so on the thread, you're looking in the rearview mirror, and you're like, "What is that?" You turn, look in the right, and there's like, fucking next to you, you're like, ah! You know, fucking, you know, because you don't want to hit it, because you're like, "Is it a brown recluse? Is it a brown recluse?" Because you know, I'm a coward, so I'm just like, I don't want to touch it. It's gonna, you know. Right.
Another great one is my one car was sitting for a while because of the brakes, so I was borrowing, like, my dad's car, my stepmom's car, my girlfriend's car, or whoever's car I could use so that I didn't have to risk my life to do whatever. So my car had been sitting for like months in the driveway. I go out, hop in, I'm driving, and I start to hear this like buzzing. I look, passenger side door, I have a fucking beehive.
Oh my God.
Actually, it's the lost fucking cocoon thing. I was like, ah! That was nice. And the one time I went out and popped the glove box and look inside, and there was like a bunch of chewed up shit where like a rabbit or a rat or something had come like up through the engine into the car through like the front panel while it was parked there. That was fun.
Dude, Husker was driving one time, and he was terrified of fucking spiders, man. And I'm in the passenger seat. And there was a fucking little spider crawling across the dashboard, and I point and look. I look out, and we're in the mall, parking lot, going to the mall. I look out the right, and I hear the door just go, and we're moving. We're doing 20 miles an hour, man. I hear the door just go, and I turn and look, and there's nobody driving. The car's just like rolling through the fucking parking lot. I have my seatbelt on and shit. I'm all buckled in. I look over and there's the driver's door is open, and Joe's like still kind of like rolling along the fucking road and shit. I'm like, oh my God, you know, fucking reach over, fucking hit the brakes and slow down. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, can't stand spiders, man. I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, that was totally James Bond shit. What the fuck? That was nuts.
I sold that Dynasty that I had to some people, some unsuspecting victims, and the kid gets in the passenger side. He opens up the glove compartment and he grabs the owner's manual, and it's all chewed up, like a mouse was all in it and stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't know what that's all about. I never had any. I don't know. And he puts it back. So I go to open the trunk for him. I go around back. We were standing there, and I open the trunk. And as soon as I lift the lid, there goes a mouse running right across the back of the trunk. Goes diving underneath, like where you put the spare tire and stuff. I was like, oh, I guess you get a mouse with this car too. The dude still took it.
Like it's a selling point.
Yeah, I'm like, you get a free mouse, you get a free buddy, you get a little pet.
I remember that big car I gave you, Anderson. That one had mice in the engine because they got into like that. There's like
mice
that,
in the engine.
Well, no, in the insulation.
On a fucking wheel?
No, the insulation right above there was insulation, and they had gotten in there and made like some kind of nest or something, and
right.
C's got them out of there. But that's because the car never was driven. Because I was driving that Tempo around, and the big car just sat for the longest time. So it was by the woods, and they had gotten into it. That shit happens. So basically, Larry and I keep our interiors clean, and Don and Brian have health crisis.
Health issues.
Yeah, health code violations in their cars and shit. I don't know. All right, so it's probably because you guys don't drive women around too often. Although you guys have kids, I don't know.
I got kids.
You just
they all sit in the back, dude. All my rubbish is up in the front.
No, I got a pile of shit. It's like letters, some work stuff like pens, CDs, like just all kinds of just a mishmash of just stuff. And it's like if somebody needs to sit in the front, I go over there and I pick it all up and I throw it in the back. And then when I got to get the kids in there, I pick it all up, I throw it in the front. it's just a big pile of shit. There's a tie in there, and there's like, my phone charger. Just stupid,
I will say this, though. Part of it, like, I live in a house now, and for the longest time I lived in apartments. And having the house kind of, like, is helpful because you can, like, kind of, like, have a trash can outside and get into your car and, like, dig stuff out and clean it out. And when you lived in an apartment, that's a huge fucking hassle because you got, like, your car can often be, like, blocks away and stuff. So then it becomes a question of, like, when the hell are you ever going to get the opportunity? Or you can go to, like, one of those cleaning areas, but then that costs, like, quarters and shit. And when you're, like, struggling, to barely make it, when you're doing that whole, I'm going to insert an empty envelope and withdraw money and then tell the bank later that I forgot to put the check in. And, because that always went over real well. Just didn't work out so well. Okay, so let's talk trucks versus cars. Brian and Don, Larry do you ever have a truck? You had like a SUV, but did you ever own a truck?
I've been borrowing a truck for a while, but I've never owned a truck. So
okay, but you've driven one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I've never actually owned one, so I'm going to have to defer to you guys. What do you like about them? Do you like them better than cars? Do you like cars better than the truck? What's the story with Brian? Tell us a little bit about it. What's your opinion?
I like trucks because you can only put one person in it.
Well, two.
Yeah, so you don't have people come to go, hey man, can I get a ride? Because they look over and they see that giant pile of shit in the fucking seat next to you, like, oh, sorry. And it's helpful if you have to move your own stuff around, not your friends. Move your own stuff. If you can move your own stuff, it's pretty cool. Most of them are standard shift, which I find a lot more entertaining to drive.
I mean, you own a truck now, basically. You still own that Ranger, or what?
No, I sold that, dude.
Oh, you did? Really?
Pontiac Vibe, yeah.
Oh, so you're driving. Well, what's Jody driving?
She's driving her mom's, I don't know what the fuck it is, the big goddamn car. It's an old person car.
So Brian doesn't have a car, and Jody's got two. Basically, that's what it is. But all right.
Yeah, it's in her name, dude, because it's like the insurance is in her name, and she gets, she has, So, it's like I liked the truck just because I thought it was just easier to get around in. I mean, I don't know. It was just It's just easier to get around in. So. That's it. I mean, it wasn't like I got the truck. It wasn't like, it wasn't like I had like a personality for my truck. Like, well, big guy,
this is Bertha.
Here we are again going down this road, nothing like that. Just like, fuck, who cares?
Anderson, opinion?
I basically bought a truck for the same reason. I was like, because, well, for a fact, Kevin, that I would fit like 8, 9, 10 people in that fucking Monte Carlo all the time. And it was just a pain in the ass. I was always like, I was like, got sick of it, so I just bought a truck so I could drive me and Oz around. And that's, and everybody would be like, can I get a ride? I'd be like, nope, Oz already got shotgun. You never called anything. Oz always has shotgun. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
standing rule.
Pretty much. And I had like the cap on the back of the truck, so I threw it. My mom had an old mattress, so I threw that in the back of the truck. And you could go sit in the back of the truck and be comfortable and stuff. And then people were like, hey, you know what? I'll just ride in the back since I can sit on that mattress if that's all right. And me and Oz would be like, all right, that's cool. I think I told this one. Here I go again. Where we would take the smoke bombs and we put them in a empty Crayola box, and then we would light them, open up the window in between the front and the back. Under, you know what I mean? And
throw them in the back.
Whoever it was would be in the back. Be like, what do you want? We'd be like, here, take some crayons. And we'd throw the box at them, and then we'd shut that window and lock it on them. And then the smoke bomb would go off, and we used to do that.
Anderson used to drive like 6 people to school, and
all the time.
It came with kind of a debt in a sense, because while he would drive you to school, because he picked up so many people, and he's Don Anderson, you would always get to school late. So, it was...
I'll give you a ride, but you're going to be late.
Yeah, you're going to get a detention. If basically that's what it meant. But never really asked anybody for driving money for gas, and he would often like pick people up or take people home from school. And because we got out of school early, he would then go back and pick other people up.
Hardcore, man.
Yeah, he would pick up other people later in the day to take them home from school too. So, nice guy.
I just like driving.
except on the highway. You've never been big on, maybe these days you are, but for the longest time you really were. If it was like driving through the metro parks, you'd be cool with it. But if it was like getting on the highway, not so much.
Going somewhere.
No, you never really were big into the whole highway. I never quite understood that. Maybe it was too fast for you or something.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's too fast, man. It's fucking crazy. So, Larry, truck or car?
Car. I don't really like driving trucks. I think it's always important to have at least one friend who has a truck because, eventually everybody moves. And I tend to do it a whole lot. But I move back and forth enough that, between work or going wherever the hell it is I'm going, that I like the ability to actually put shit in my back seat because I don't like having stuff on the passenger seat while I'm driving because that's where my food goes when I'm eating. So I like having a back seat. And, no. I just like, not being crammed into the cab and having a big open space in my vehicle that 9 times out of 10 I'm not using for anything.
Are they shitty in snow? I've always thought that the main reason I was never really interested in it was because people always seem like...
The truck I've been using handles like a drunk pig in the snow. All the weight is up front.
Thank you.
This one in particular that I have is a bastard, and I almost, this is the one that almost killed me this past winter because they're horrible. There you go.
Brian?
Yes.
What do you think about driving trucks in the winter? You bad? Good?
It's not bad if you have a fucking 80-pound sandbag in the back over your tires, but other than that,
there is
dude,
that.
fucking, and if you don't have a like I didn't have a camper bag, you don't have to worry about it so much because the back end of your truck fills with snow, which is highly entertaining when you take off on the freeway and you blind everybody behind you because you have your own portable blizzard. I thought that was pretty great. Yeah, you always manage to. I mean, it makes no difference. Winter, summer, what the fuck ever. Number one, any turn you take, if you take it too fast, your tires are going to fucking squeal. And if you hit a bump just right, your tires are going to go out from underneath you a little bit. You're going to fucking suddenly start going right or left, which is kind of funny. If it's just you, it's like I'd have my kids in the fucking pickup truck. So I thought that was great. That for that very reason right there. But otherwise, dude, it's a fucking death trap. If you had to put your brakes on really fast, it's like you're not even like deciding am I going to counter steer, or it's like you're just like, how bad is the crash going to be? Because there's no control involved here at all. Let's just get that out of the way.
All right. So last question then before we
need one of those big lockups you use on the big wheel, those big handles you pull on the fucking tires and you start spinning, some sort of controlled fucking smashing, but that's about it.
You need like the Fred Flintstone thing where you put your feet down to brake, like yeah.
That'd be great, so that my feet ripping off underneath my car. It fucking suck.
No, because you got those giant combat boots, so they probably just slide. And, Brian, what was your favorite car that you owned?
The car that I liked the best, that I had the most fun in, was probably the Delta 88.
Delta 88.
I had a Delta 88. I got the guy when I worked at Chester's sold me a Delta 88. That thing was great.
Looks like a boat.
The one that my ex-wife smashed.
That's
on
the one she wrecked. Okay, yeah. That's when you were driving long distance. I don't really remember that.
Yeah, and I got a phone call. It says call home ASAP. I'm like, uh-oh. And I called home. My wife at the time was like, okay, I'm fine. The baby's fine. The car's destroyed.
She drove the fucking car in a blizzard. I mean, why she
would not drive home to see me when I was there. She drove home.
She was driving out somewhere in a blizzard.
She went to go visit a friend, and I was there. And I'm like, hey, it's been a month. I haven't seen. She's like, well, why don't you come out and visit? You could stay the night here. I'm like, because she's older and she doesn't like me much. So how about you come home and I could be your husband? She's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Nah.
So
there's that angst again. Damn it. Anderson, what was your favorite car?
It's got to be the Monte Carlo, the Green Goblin.
Yeah, didn't you have two Monte Carlos, or just
no?
What was
I said
what was the white one? Wasn't there a white one? What was after the Monte Carlo?
That's when I bought trucks.
No, there was didn't you have two cars though like that were big like that? I distinctly remember having two like that. Really?
Nope.
You didn't have two Monte Carlos. All right.
Nope. I had the one Monte
Did you
Carlo.
have a Cutlass? Did you have a Cutlass? No.
No.
All right. Thought you did. Okay.
No. That was Gary Gray's baby blue one.
Don't know.
Don't forget to add. You know Larry's back, right?
He's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got disconnected. Don't you read the screen?
Oh. That Larry. I don't know. I thought you meant Gary Gray. Sorry.
No. I got his phone number though.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it would be the Monte Carlo because that's the one I had the most fun in. That was the one I did everything in. I drove that thing everywhere. And
My favorite car was probably the yellow Camaro that I got from Bill Bailey.
that you let everybody drive.
That was a complete, it only had 13,000 miles on it, but because it was a Camaro from 81, it was mechanically unsound. And you can tell Larry's back, too, can't you? Because it's just like all of a sudden the power mic comes on. You can hear his dad breathing in the other room. It's like, Jesus.
It sounds like you're in a kitchen.
Yeah, it's just so powerful. You can hear everything.
I'm in the basement talking on a cheap headset that I got for free when I took some Microsoft classes.
They can use that on that Ghost Hunters because I think we can hear them sometimes going, "Help us." Get out. Get us out of here, please. Get a job. It stinks in here. Yeah.
Don't touch yourself.
The Camaro was cool. It was 81 yellow. It was the last year of that model. It had T-tops, mags, and a spoiler, which was that combination was basically there was never another one like it. It only had a 6 in it, though. Wasn't a race car by any means. It had some pickup, though, and it did work right. But basically, it was just a fun car to drive around. You could always find it in the parking lot. And, it was Bill Bailey's car first. So it
was owned by a lunch lady.
Yeah, it was owned by a lunch lady. It was just a fun ride. And the funny thing is I gave it away. I gave it to our poor friend Adam, which literally I think one day
drove that thing for 1,000 years.
Anderson
later.
And I could probably do like a whole show about Adam for our audience and entertain you endlessly about how crazy this guy is. But anyway, I gave it to him, and somehow they managed to pass the E-check, which is the emissions check here in Ohio, and they drove it again for at least another 2 years after I gave it to him.
You drove it for a while.
Yeah, for a long time. And that was sort of depressing in a way, but then it did look like a hunk of shit, so it was good to just let him have it. Larry, favorite car?
I had two, really. Two of the only ones I actually bought with my own money. As much as we make fun of my little TIE Fighter Geostorm, I liked it. Made me look cool, sporty little green Geostorm with the side detailing, and the Dodge Durango, which cost a truckload of money, was a complete bastard on gas, but it was a fucking trooper and looked good. And at the time, I was doing a lot of my job at the time required me to travel a lot and go site to site and do computer repair. And I could load a couple of printers into the back of that thing and a PC and all my various other parts and tools and shit, and not have it impact like my actual driving space. I could still have all my notebooks and stuff with me and drive for 2 hours, and I was cool with it because it was a good, comfortable ride. So I really liked that one as well.
Cool. Okay. Well, honestly, folks, this show would have been probably even better if Don Cease would have been here, only because he's
got great car stories.
Yeah, he does, and it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to make it. That's how the show works. Not that we were any slouches, but this show really would have been better because the guys had unbelievably nightmare stories that he could tell us. Yeah, you just have no idea how you think your luck's bad. No, not when it comes to cars.
Compared to that guy's car stories,
it's just not. Yeah, go ahead.
Nothing.
No. All right. Yeah, I mean, okay. So that's it. Our next show is in 2 weeks. It's going to be on drinking. Did you guys have anything else that you want to say? Final.
Should we be drinking when we do the show?
No, we're just going to be talking about all. You can, if you'd like. People have asked us to drink on the show. One of the problems with that, folks, is we do record this show on Sundays, and outside of Brian, most of us have to get up to go to work.
It's Jesus Day,
and sure, feel free to have liquor up beforehand. But we're going to be talking about all aspects of drinking, sort of like the first time we got drunk, as far as the bar life, drinking at home. All sorts of things. I have a whole list of questions we're going to ask. It's going to be interesting.
And if you're in Cleveland, you only have 2 more weeks before the 8th annual cancer benefit at Knockouts in Parma, which is now also co-sponsored by ClevelandSportsRadio.net, who will be who will be matching a portion of the ticket sales on one of our raffles for a Cleveland Browns items. So come on out. We'll have cornhole, we'll have pool, we'll have cheap beer and pasta and pizza and wings, all you can eat and drink for $15, and you get to hang out with me and maybe Brian and reportedly Kevin.
If I remember. I got to remember.
If he remembers.
Yeah, if I remember too, dude. Same thing.
And if Brian remembers.
You should just text me, because most likely I won't be doing anything else. So just text me, let me know. Yeah. That's going to be it. And then next week, video game news, we're going to be talking about evil in video games. I don't know. It was Don.
Darkest Joe, like I'm saying.
It was Don Cease's topic, so we'll see where we can drag out of us on that one. Yeah, not really sure.
And Larry Mack will have a very special evil game review next week for you.
So if you're listening live, keep listening. In about 10:30, we're going to start the Cleveland Sports Radio show, and UFC 100 was yesterday, and we have Akuma on to talk to us about that as well.
I saw it.
Pitch his own show. Well, Anderson, you're on the sports show, so
good thing.
You can tell us all about it. At 10:30, so
I'm going to scream at Akuma. I'm going to be like, "Listen here, I'll tell you how it really is."
So that's it. I don't have an outro for Midwest Wasteland. I had a couple people ask about us reading their emails on the show. Show goes long. This show's long, so there's no time for it.
So
sorry. Maybe eventually, but no, not right now. Sorry, but that's just how it is. Okay, that's it. You guys got anything else?
Peace.
Nope. All right, take it easy.
Later.
See you in 10.